Hello, my name is Emily Oriana. Today I want to talk about forensic entomology. The first question you may ask is, what is forensic entomology? Forensic entomology is the study of insects or arthropods, specifically necrophageous insects, which are insects that feed on other animals. The forensic part comes in because necrophageous insects can be used to determine an explanation of PMI, a post-mortem interval. Now, why does necrophageous insects help determine PMI? Quote, every death investigation relies on an accurate estimation of the time of death or the period since death, termed as the post-mortem interval. PMI estimation is essential in every suspicious death investigation to reconstruct events and circumstances of death, to like a suspect to the victim, and to establish the credibility of statements made by a witness. It is not just useful in criminal cases but also civil cases. To determine PMI by using entomological evidence, there are two ways. The first one is to determine the stage of insect succession or life cycle of arthropod species found on the body. The second way is to determine the stage of development of the oldest maggot, which helps find a close approximation of PMI. Insects typically start laying eggs right after death. It may take a few minutes or about an hour. There are many factors that can affect determining PMI subsession. Typically, when the first insects colonize the blowfly, in this chart right here, you can see that it starts with an egg, the larvae, then continues to the larvae till it becomes a pupil, and then it becomes an adult blowfly. There we go. I want to talk about stages decomposition in humans because it also relates to um, the blowfly's life cycle and like insect cessation. Hopefully, I'm saying that right. The first stage is self-digestion, aka the first stage. Rigor mortis happens during this stage because the absence of oxygenated blood flow causes the muscle tissue to become rigid. Blowfly starts to colonize a body about 10 minutes after death. However, adult female blowflies lay eggs during the daylight. If the death happens during sunset or the night, the female will delay laying her eggs until the next morning. Stage 2, bloating. Bacteria grows and reproduce inside the body, causing gases to form, and which is why the body bloats during the stage. This is when the larvae starts to consume the insects. Stage 3, active decay. During this stage, body loses most of its body masses. Insects will still consume the body and will start to track on insects as well, or like other mammals or mammals. Stage 4, advanced decay. Most of the tissues have been decomposed, leaving only bones, hair, and some tendons behind. Lens insects will be attracted to the body, or someone just leave. Lastly, the last stage is skeletonization, which is just bones. Let's talk about the history of forensic entomology. Forensic entomology is not anything new. It is an incredible old forensic technique. The first recorded use of forensic entomology was used in a homicidal investigation in 13th century China. Sun Tzu discussed a case about a man that was found murdered in a rural village. The murder weapon was deemed to be a sickle. To determine who committed the crime, every man in the village who owned a sickle was asked to line up their knives with their sickle on the floor. Even though no obvious signs of blood was shown, the flies will still be attracted to the sickle. Sworn the flies masked the murder weapon, and that's when the killer commits to his crime. And I learned that apparently the modern start of modern day forensic entomology didn't start till France in the 18th century. There you go. Now, not only is forensic entomology used to determine PMI, but also helps identify signs of abuse in the police investigation. Insects used in forensic entomology feeds on dead organic matter, dead or alive. It can come from open wounds or poor hygiene, and it tracks insects the same as a dead body. Insects on a living victim may indicate in the length of neglect or abuse. Forensic entomologist provides a powerful and convincing evidence of neglect in court. It is difficult to prove neglect in court, but at the same time, it's easy to prove that a baby was being neglected because of the maggots feeding on its tissue because of the lack of diaper change. And this is one of the case files I found. Iowa 2019, 21-year-old Cheyenne Harris was found guilty by jurors of first-degree murder and child endangerment. The victim was her son, Sterling, I think I might be butchering this, Cone, died of malnutrition, dehydration, infection. The baby was only 4 months old and was found on a mechanical swing weighing less than 7 pounds, standing unattended in the defendant Terrace apartment. He was also found feces in his unchanged diaper. E. coli bacteria entered his vascular system. A forensic specialist was able to determine that he was bit in the swing for about 9 to 14 days, about 2 weeks, while he was still alive. Maggots and fleas crawl on him because of the attraction of his unchanged diaper. Oh, what happened? And this can be used to determine if the body was moved or not. Most killers happen in the moment, which is right after the killer must figure out how to hide the body. If the victim was an adult, it may be difficult for the killer to move the body. The killer may leave the body behind and comes back later. If the body stays at the location of the killings for a certain amount of time, I want to talk about forensic entomotoxicology, which is a sub-area of entomology and also toxicology that uses necrophagous insects to detect unnatural substances. It helps determine the presence of drugs and the type of drugs depending on the behavior and characteristics of the insects. Its purpose is to avoid mistakes during police investigation. Insects can be used to determine the type of drugs found in the victim's body, but it does not help determine the PMI because the drug's effects on the development rate of insects depending on the drug. Having a non-accurate estimation PMI can throw up a whole case. Insects is one of the most relevant methods of forensics to determine PMI. How do drugs affect the development rate of insects? Cocaine and methamphetamine, or meth, accelerates the development rate of flies. Cocaine specifically causes larvae to develop more rapidly in 36 to 76 hours after hatching, while meth depends on the male, increasing the larvae's development by 2 days. Heteranus is interesting. It speeds up larvae growth by 24 hours, but decreases the development rate of the pupal stage by 18 to 38. Varidos, hopefully I'm saying that right, are depressant drugs used to help sleep, relieve anxiety, muscle spasm, and prevent seizures. It increases the length It increases the length of the larval stage of the fly, which causes the time to increase to reach the next stage. When firing a gun, gunshot residue or GSR can remain on the shooter's hand, clothes, or on the victim's body. GSR is mostly made of metals, most commonly lead. Using necrophagous insects can help determine the metal and the type of gun not physically but its characteristics. Now I'm going to talk about a